Welcome. We are located in week 1 of month 3, where we're going to focus on why the body was left behind. As we begin month 3, I want to start with something that often goes unsaid in conversations about embodiment. Most people didn't disconnect from their bodies because they were broken. They disconnected because it worked. Leaving the body behind was not a personal failure, it was a successful adaptation. And until we understand why that adaptation made sense, coming back into the body can feel confusing, frustrating, or even unsafe. So this week is about context, about restoring meaning. Because when the mind understands why disconnection happened, the body stops feeling like a problem that needs to be fixed. Now let's start with a simple truth. Human beings are not born disconnected from their bodies. Infants and young children live almost entirely through sensation. They know when they're hungry, when they're tired, and when something feels overwhelming. They don't override signals, they respond to them. So when we talk about embodiment as something we need to learn, what we're really talking about is remembering. The question is not, why aren't I embodied? The question is, what taught me that it wasn't safe, useful, or rewarded to stay that way? From a scientific perspective, this question matters because the nervous system is designed to adapt to the environment. That is its job. Now, let's talk briefly about how this works. The human nervous system is constantly asking one primary question: am I safe right now? When the answer is yes, the system supports curiosity, connection, learning, and flexibility. When the answer is no, or even uncertain, the system shifts towards survival. That shift changes everything. Perception narrows, attention moves outward. Internal signals become secondary to external demands. This is not pathology, this is biology. From an evolutionary perspective, it made a whole lot of sense. If you were living in an environment where emotional expression was punished, sensitivity was dismissed, rest was unsafe, or performance ensured belonging, then tuning out internal signals was adaptive. The body learned paying attention outward keeps me connected. Over time, that became a default. And the more competent someone became at overriding their body, the more they would have been rewarded for it. This is especially true in achievement-oriented environments. Think about the messages many people absorb early on. Push through. Don't be weak. Mind over matter. Rest later. These are not neutral phrases. They train the nervous system to deprioritize sensation. And when sensation is deprioritized for long enough, it becomes unfamiliar. Not absent, just harder to hear. From a neuroscience standpoint, this makes sense. The brain operates through attention and repetition. What you attend to strengthens. What you ignore weakens. So when attention is consistently placed on thinking, planning, performing, and producing, and sensation is ignored, the neural pathways associated with interoception gradually lose priority. Interoception is the nervous system's ability to sense the internal state of the body. Things like hunger, fatigue, tension, breath, internal comfort or discomfort. Interoception is foundational to self-regulation. And when it's underused, people don't lose sensation, they lose confidence in sensation. They stop trusting what the body says. So embodiment isn't just emotional, it's neurological. Now, let's pause here. If you've ever thought, I don't know what I feel, or I don't trust my body, that doesn't mean your body is silent. It often means the listening pathway was deprioritized for a long time. Now let's bring this into real life. I see this pattern constantly in high-functioning adults. People who are capable, reliable, and accomplished. They often say things like, I don't notice I'm tired until I crash. I don't realize I'm stressed until my body forces me to stop. Or I live in my head. These are not signs of disconnection from self. These are signs of successful long-term override. The nervous system learned that internal signals were less important than external expectations. And because that strategy worked, it persisted. This is why embodiment work can feel threatening. Because for many people, their success was built on leaving the body behind. So coming back can feel like risking everything they've built. Let me say this clearly. Embodiment is not about undoing your competence. It's about making it sustainable. From a physiological perspective, chronic override has costs. When internal signals are ignored for long enough, the body often finds louder ways to communicate. Fatigue, chronic tension, anxiety, burnout, illness. These are not failures, they are communication strategies. The body escalates when it hasn't been heard. This is well documented in stress physiology. Chronic activation of the stress response, even at low levels, changes how the nervous system allocates resources. Energy goes toward vigilance and output, and away from repair, digestion, immune function, and recovery. So embodiment is not indulgent, it is regulatory. It restores balance to systems that were never meant to operate at full output indefinitely. Now let's address a common misconception. Many people think embodiment means being emotional. Now that's not necessarily true. Embodiment means being informed by sensation. Sometimes that includes emotion. Sometimes it includes noticing tension, or breath, or fatigue, or subtle ease. Emotion is one channel. Sensation is much broader. So if you've been hesitant to go into the body because you fear being overwhelmed, that fear is understandable, especially if you grew up in environments where emotion was unsafe or unmanaged. But embodiment does not require flooding. It requires regulation. And regulation happens gradually. This month is not about dramatic experiences. It's about restoring contact. Let's ground this again. I'd like you to notice your body right now. Where do you feel contact with the chair or floor? Where do you feel tension? Where do you feel neutral? No need to interpret, just notice. That noticing alone is embodiment. No catharsis required. Now, I want to connect this back to agency because this matters. In month 2, we talked about agency as the felt sense of choice. Now, here's the link. Agency cannot be sustained without embodiment because choice is not just cognitive, it's physiological. When the body is disconnected, the nervous system defaults to old patterns under stress, even if the mind knows better. So embodiment is not a separate phase of growth. It is the stabilizing force underneath everything that comes next. Leadership, discernment, aligned action. All of these require a body that can signal capacity, truth, and timing. That's why this month exists. Now, let's talk about why coming back into the body often feels awkward at first. From a learning perspective, you are rebuilding a skill. Skills feel clumsy before they feel natural. And because embodiment is subtle, people often think they're doing it wrong. They say things like, I don't feel anything. I don't know what I'm supposed to notice. And that's all normal. Neutral sensation is sensation. Numbness is information. Restlessness is information. You don't need special experiences for this to work. You just need consistency. Now, let's close this teaching with a reframe that will carry you through the month. Your body is not a problem to solve. It is a relationship to rebuild. And how do we rebuild relationships? We rebuild them through attention, patience, trust, reliability. Not force, not intensity. So this week is about understanding. Understanding why the body was left behind, why that made sense, and why it may be safe to return now. Before we end, I want to leave you with one gentle orientation for this week. This week, don't try to change your relationship to your body. Just notice how you already relate to it. Do you ignore it, override it, distrust it, manage it? There's no judgment here. Awareness is the beginning of repair. Next week, we'll begin working directly with safety and regulation so the body can start speaking quietly again. But for now, let understanding do its work. Nothing is wrong with you. You just adapted. And now you're allowed to adapt again. And that is where embodiment begins.